If people are suffering at home, it absolutely 100% carries over into their work life. I've shared in the past that Zig Ziglar was my personal mentor for a few years. I mean, he was legendary in our industry and reached millions and millions of people. And my two favorite sales-related things that Zig used to say, my favorite story he told about sales is the pump. You just have to Google it. Just go search on YouTube sometime for the pump story. And he cranks this pump and he talks about like all the work it takes to get water out of a well and how that works. It's a really good story. But kind of the two one-liners that he had about sales that I always loved, one was on how to answer the "I want to pray about it" objection. You know, sometimes you'll meet people and they're like, "Oh, I want to pray about it." And he used to say, he said, "Oh, I think that's a great idea. I'm a believer myself. We should pray about it. Let's do that right now." He told me, yes. What'd he tell you? Like, let's all bow our heads. He told me, yes. What did he tell you? So great. Classic Zig Ziglar. The other thing that Zig used to say, which is kind of like a profound truth, is he would say, people always complain that I'm a motivational speaker and they say that motivation, doesn't last. Why would I waste my time motivating my team? Motivation doesn't last. It wears off. And he would always say, that's right. Motivation doesn't last. Neither does bathing, which is why I suggest that you do it every day. Such a good concept. It is so true. The problem with motivation is it doesn't last, but neither does bathing, which is why I recommend you do it every day. Classic Zig Ziglar. When it comes to supporting your team, there's basically two types of ways. There's like two high-level things you're going to do to support your team. There is educational support is the first one. Educational support is knowledge, information, it's technical training. It's all about how to complete tasks to mitigate uncertainty. Part of your role is education. Another part of your role is motivation. Motivational support is the mental side, the emotional side. It's the feeling, it's the inspiration. Motivational support is about helping your team overcoming rejection. And even if they're doing inside sales and leads are coming to them, they're still dealing with rejection. It's hard, right? It's not easy to close. It's cat and mouse. Sometimes they get a lot of people in a row and sometimes they'll go several calls or several days or several weeks without making a sale. And so you, as the sales manager, you got to do both. The most common mistake sales managers make is that they train their people once and they assume that they're done, right? It's kind of like that old story of the guy who marries his wife. On his wedding day, he says, "I love you." And he says, "Assume I love you. And if anything changes, I'll let you know," right? Like, that's not how it works. It is that mistake, that same mistake that sales managers make is they go, "Oh, I trained you. Like, why aren't you performing? You should know how to do this." It's not how it works. This is why we use the term support. It's like, it's ongoing. It's perpetual. It's continual. It's why sales management is a full-time focus and a full-time job, because you're leading people. And when you look at training them, this is really important. You shouldn't just provide training on how to be better at your business. You need to provide training on how to be a better person. I mean, this is true about all leadership. Like, you become a better leader by being a better person. But specifically the role of sales, the more that someone develops their character, the more they invest in personal development, the better they will do at sales. And so part of what you've got to do is help support them in this. One of your jobs as the sales manager, like on your job description, one of the things that you should do is make sure that your team has access to the best training. You got to put the tools in front of them. You got to help them do it. And there's a lot, right? So first of all, there's personal development. So we call this the lifetime library, like the talk tracks of industry knowledge and product knowledge and sales knowledge. It is all that, but it's also, when we get here, it's kind of like personal development. And so it's going, how can we help mentor them in their spiritual lives or motivational or meditation, this kind of like mindset sort of stuff. And then what about family and relationships? If you don't already know this, y'all, like, if people are suffering at home, it absolutely 100% carries over into their work life. You can't hate your life at home and not have it affect your work. That's one of the reasons why Dave Ramsey does the spousal interview, is he wants to see the dynamic of these two people. Like, are they supportive? Because if things are a mess, if you're blowing up and having fights with your spouse or your kids, or you're sick, you have some health issue, definitely affects your ability to work. And so you want to help people on fitness and health, like nutrition and energy, just hobbies and doing fun things, productivity training, right? Like teaching them how to manage their time, teaching them how to use calendars, teaching them how to use the tools of the day. And then finances and money, which is crazy, right? You might be like, why am I having to teach these people about money? They're adults. The reason is because no one else has taught them about it. No one has taught them how to balance the checkbook. No one has taught them how to get out of debt. They don't know the difference between term insurance and whole insurance. They don't know that. They don't know what a 401k is. Even if you offer one and they're like, oh, sounds good, they might be afraid to tell you they don't understand what that means. A lot of people don't. You got to teach them about these things, because that's the other thing. An unstable financial salesperson is kind of a risky salesperson. If they're desperate for commissions, like if they're so desperate financially, they're not serving your prospect's best interest on the phone. It's hard to do that. So you want to make sure they know something about that kind of a thing. And then the professional development library. This is where you teach them about leadership and sales education, and then all of your systems training. Like you need to have a drip sequence of how to use the CRM. Just like you would have a drip sequence on a prospect, you're going to create drip sequences for training. Here's how we set up a new customer. Here's how we input the order. Here's how our membership system works. Here's how we use Outlook. Here's how we use Slack. Here's how we use blah, 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 blah. You got to train them on that. Here's how to use Excel. Customer service training. Oh my goodness. People don't know anything about customer service. And by the way, if they've never stayed at a Ritz-Carlton, if they've never spent the $500 on a meal, if they've never bought a Rolls-Royce, talked about it yesterday, they've never experienced world-class service. How are they going to deliver world-class service to your people if they've never been taught it and they've never experienced it? They literally don't know. It's not because they're stupid. It's because they don't know what it looks like. So guess what? Another job for you. Oh, yay. Right? Like now another thing you get to train them on. But you got to create these processes. You got to create these processes. And then on the job training of the actual job itself, here are recordings of doing demos or like, here's a recording of you doing a full presentation. Here's what a presentation should sound like. And then recordings of actual presentations. Here's a real life thing that happened. Then we got to train them on our culture. These are our values. These are our beliefs. This is how we operate. HR training and benefits training. You got to provide training. Why? Because they don't know what it means to opt in for insurance, right? They don't know like deductibles and health insurance plans and premiums, like especially if you don't have a lot of money and you're hiring young people and you put together and you offer some of these. What is vision and dental? You got to train them on how to do it.